All right. We got Edwin Hodge in the house. Dude,
What?
you're one of my best friends. You
Yes, yes.
showed up at my wedding for me.
You showed up at my wedding for me. You spoke at my wedding for me.
Dude, yeah. I mean, how blessed, I gotta say, I'm so blessed to have you in my life. We've known each other for 8 years
Yeah,
now, I think.
yeah.
Um, and
And
my
it
life,
affected
my life
me too.
changed. My life changed dramatically when I met you.
Yeah, big
You
time.
know, I'm so blessed to have you in my life. I went from living in LA to and having, my friends who I'd known for like 12, 13 years, who I had become so accustomed to living a certain lifestyle. And then I met I met you, somebody who was honest and loving and so supportive in who I was as like inside as this genuine person. And I don't think I'd be where I am today if it wasn't for you. So
Thank
I
you.
just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being there for me and for doing this with me.
I mean, it's definitely been reciprocated, man. I mean, I can say that we both had our experiences through our friendship where we've had to lean on each other. And the love has always been there. The respect has always been there. The admiration has always been there. Um, I think sometimes I saw some things in you that you weren't seeing at that given moment in time, and vice versa. You
Mhm.
know, we all go through our madness, and
That's true.
it's lucky, it's a blessing when we can have somebody who for all intents and purposes is level headed through it all, you know. And yeah, man, we were each other's shoulder when we needed to be.
Absolutely, absolutely. And now you play Ray Cannon on
Yes.
FBI Most Wanted, right?
Wanted, yes, yes.
Who
FBI Most
who who
Wanted.
taped who taped you for that gig?
So, crazy funny story, I hit up my buddy you, and I was like, "Hey man, you wanna go golfing?" And then my reps was like, "Hey man, you got an audition." So we were like, "All right, you know what? Audition on tape real quick, and then we go hit the
Yep,
cheeks."
yep.
And I think what we were like on the 10th or 11th hole when I got the call.
Mhm.
They were like,
Yep.
we need you to re-record. And I'm like,
Yep.
I'm on the course. And they're like, for you. I was like, all right, cool. But yeah, man, we went back to the crib and
Dude.
knocked it out. And a few days later, they say I got the job. So
And this is what I love about you too. You're so
yeah.
humble. You're so humble all the time that
What are you
like
saying?
we went back, we taped this audition, and then like a week and a half passes. I'm like, gotta get back out on the golf course with Eddie. I hit you up and you're like, oh, I'm leaving tomorrow. For what?
Oh,
For what? And you're like, oh, I booked that job, bro. Like, I'm just going to New York to like, take care of this FBI most wanted thing.
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
you were a very a humble guy, and I've always loved that about you.
Oh, man, likewise.
But so we're gonna talk mental health.
Yeah.
Talk men's mental health. We can talk mental health as about a broader spectrum as well. Um, but like you know, I lead in with this question because it's the answer is always different with everybody,
Yeah.
and I'll preface it just because it tends to be easier, to give you a direction to go in. But like, I grew up in a household where therapy very much had a stigma on it.
Yeah. Oh,
There was like, I want to talk to somebody. It was like, what's wrong? There's nothing wrong with you.
there's nothing wrong. Yeah.
And that doesn't go to say that like my parents didn't love and take care of me to the best of their ability, but they didn't understand it either.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing when you reach a certain age, you recognize is, when you're younger, you don't really have a choice but to put certain things in perspective. Like you put your parents on a pedestal. You see these older people, maybe in a way where you kind of think they know everything. And
Yeah.
then as when you reach a certain point, like you realize everybody's just human, trying to get by, trying to do their best with what they know, with the information that's available to them.
Yeah.
So, so what was it like? Was there a generational thing for you? What was it like? What was the idea of mental health like for you when you were kind of coming up?
Yeah, I mean, the talk about mental health wasn't really big in the family in the sense that, everything was about, pushing through. Any type of hardships may come upon you, just, push through it. Um, but you never talk about how that affects you, or what that struggle may be, or not understanding the trauma that you may be experiencing at that given point in time. Um, so yeah, as kids, we get a bump and we keep moving on, and as parents, I think a lot of times, um, y- you know, parents can make the mistake of trying to overprotect and overshield their children with dealing with reality, and dealing with emotions. And
Mhm.
a baby cries, you got to pacify them by giving them something to quiet them down. No, they somehow need to understand what they're going through, what that emotion means. Because you're not always going to get the lollipop when you're done crying, right? Like,
Sure, yeah.
it
No,
ain't,
life
it,
doesn't work
it
that way, does it?
don't work that way, and so yeah, we never really talked about it. Even throughout my teenage years, wasn't really talked about. I did study, psychology and English in high school, going into college. Those were my majors. So for me, it did allow me to gain a better understanding of how people thought and how people move through this world. When we think about the cognitive processes, when we think about the experiences, children go through, and a different level of um, psychological trauma that they may experience depending on their situation, be it environment, the people around them, or even just what they see on TV. It's hard to control that, obviously, today with the way social media is working. I think social media itself is a huge problem when it comes to dealing with mental health.
Yeah.
People are, a lot of people are telling false stories,
Hmm.
about their lives, and also influencing people in ways that, you know, allow them to perceive that, this is real, or what they're seeing is real, when, it's not. And they create this false identity,
Sure.
also creates more trauma,
I
um,
love that, Eddie. I haven't had the opportunity to talk about that in particularly with anybody. So I think that's a really cool topic to kind of get into. So if you don't mind, I want to chat about that for a little bit. Like
yeah, yeah, for sure, man.
social media, as you said, it's based on these like snapshots that can be manipulated and photoshopped, and there are moments in people's lives where that photo where they're wearing a bunch of Chanel, wearing a crazy purse, and you think they're out in Chicago or wherever, they might just be in a Chanel store trying something on for a second.
Yeah, or they might have
I was
just bought
like,
this stuff on Canal Street in New York. Like, it's
that's
like,
right, like,
they
you know,
find ways to accentuate their lives, to either make
sure,
themselves feel better, whether they think there's a monetary value that's going to follow it,
right,
numbers, hits, likes. We're doing things, or I'm not going to say we, but a lot of people are doing things for reasons that actually do not benefit them, and they do not understand how it's wearing on them mentally until like 10 years later. They're like, okay, what was that for? Or
right, right,
why did I
right.
do that? Or, and not that you look back and it's a regret or a mistake or anything like that, but you start to understand what's what's actually real in your life, and what's meaningful, and what
Absolutely.
actually, you know.
So can I ask you something? From a surface level, from somebody, I mean, I know you well. Some of the people who are watching this don't know you as well as I do. They know you from The Purge. They know you from FBI, um, Parallel, perhaps, which you wrote and produced, and like that was a big part of your baby. You have fans that know these characters. Who is Edwin Hodge?
Who's Edwin Hodge?
I know
Man,
that's a loaded question, and I'm throwing it in there, but like
nah,
we're talking about images that we project.
yeah,
Like if we were to be able to pick somebody on Instagram that's Instagram famous, right?
yeah,
And we were to turn to Emily or Jeff or whoever it might be and go, who are you? If you were to take your page away,
yeah,
if we
who,
were
yeah,
to take those filters away, who are you? Because often we're defined as what we
but
do
this
for a
is,
living,
yep,
how much money we make. I never felt more free than when we were on strike, COVID was happening, and I was just making tables.
yeah, man.
And I was just building like, but
And you walked around with a glow too while you were
I
doing it.
loved it. I
You loved
loved
it.
not being
You
defined
loved it.
as an actor, as a
Actor, yeah.
character, or with an image. So can I ask? Can I give you a quick opportunity to be like,
Yeah, man.
who's that?
Yeah, I grew up a jack of all trades, man. I'm a man who, liked to get his hands into everything. That's kind of just the way my mind worked. I would pick up anything and it became my new hobby. Like I'm into ceramics now, so now I'm making pots and stuff. It's like
Yeah,
that's me. I'm the man of many hobbies.
so you're a curious person. You're a
Yeah,
curious.
very very curious. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, I'm also very very laid back. I'm very chill.
Yeah.
I will say, when I was younger, I was a hothead. Like I was the slightest thing would like would tick me off, and then I got into martial arts and I realized that I didn't need to be a hothead anymore because I knew how to kick somebody's butt. um um I'm empathetic and sympathetic to a lot of people's emotions, maybe to a fault sometimes when I actually forgo thinking about how I'm actually feeling. I'm just worried about keeping an outside party happy, or whatever it may be. um and then I was a man who also had my selfish moments, and I didn't really think about anybody else or anyone or whatnot. I rode a wave through life. I started out very young in this industry. Grew up really really fast in this industry. um I was the product of a broken home in the sense that my parents divorced when I was 8. Um,
Mhm.
so my mom, bless her heart, she provided the best way she possibly could, and a lot of that was just following my brother and I's dream of being in this industry and, being on TV. She sacrificed a lot. I saw that sacrifice. I understood that sacrifice. Um, but yeah, I'm just, I'm a husband now.
Yeah,
I'm
you are.
I'm I'm a brother, I'm a son. I'm someone who, beats myself up a lot. People probably won't see that. They see, the confident Edwin on TV or the confident guy and, you know, in editorials or whatever. But yeah, I work hard. So when I don't see, results and
Sure.
whatnot, I come down hard on myself, and I gotta have other people snap me out of it. Um, and that just hasn't changed. That's been since childhood, and I've gone through my routines and practices and whatnot to help help change certain aspects of my life, lifestyle and my personality to um, better fit my life now, and keeping me content and the happiness that I'm feeling now,
Sure.
but I'm definitely not afraid to say that I'm a flawed guy. I wear my flaws, on my sleeve. We're not perfect. We make mistakes, and um, I've made mistakes in my life that I feel like either I have been able to come back from, or I can't come back from. But it's all built the person that people see today. As long as I'm true to myself, true to my loved ones, about what
Mhm.
I am, mentally in my life, it helps create a balance because then those around you actually understand and can be able to help you in the right way. Um,
Literally. So honesty,
yeah.
honesty with loved ones, friends,
Well,
is
with yourself first, like
with yourself.
you gotta
Yeah.
be real honest with yourself first. Like that, I think especially men, we grow up and we actually are taught to create this shell of masculinity. I don't even know what the definition of masculinity is now. Like, but I don't, because I think there's a secular group of men who use it in a very negative way, in a very controlling, you, you know, regressive way. They use that term, this machismo, as something to really like manipulate people. Um, but then, I also look at masculinity as the man who's the girl dad, who's
Yeah.
gonna go put on a tutu and go to his daughter's recital. Like, that's masculine as hell to me. Like
Yeah.
that is the commitment. It's not feminine or masculine. It is the commitment to do better, to be better, to exist in a world where you're making other people better. Um, but yeah, we're given this shell, and I think within that shell, um, it actually weakens our ability to connect with people. Um, I believe that in the long run, we as men hide a lot of our feelings. I think we eat a lot of our words, a lot of our emotions, um, so that we don't look weak, or people don't perceive us as weak.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's not weakness. It's being a human. You know,
Sure.
it's having an emotion.
Sure.
It is crying because you're happy. It is it is
Mhm.
laughing when you're sad. Like,
Yeah.
it's
I've always thought the more vulnerable, and this is just a personal opinion, because I know, and I've talked to other people about this in my past life, but I've always thought the more vulnerable somebody's willing to be, and that doesn't mean with strangers and like,
yeah,
but like the more vulnerable a human is willing to be with loved ones, friends, family, um, the more courageous
yeah,
I've they are, because it takes bravery to be vulnerable, and
yeah.
it takes bravery to ask for help.
Oh yeah.
And that's like, to me, that's just like, yo, I you're my knight in shining armor. If
I
you
had to
can,
learn that. I had to
yeah, right,
learn
yeah.
that. For sure, man. Vulnerability is that's hard to deal with sometimes, man. It really is.
It's terribly hard to deal with, especially when, you are moving at a million miles an hour and you have responsibilities outside of yourself, that you take care of on a regular basis. Like I've got a lot on my plate at the moment,
Yeah,
and I'd like to think that I'm doing a pretty good job at balancing all of it.
I
And
think you are.
thanks, bro. Thank
Yeah,
you. You know, but like, the one thing Katie will say is like, you're taking care of us. You're taking care of, my daughter, dog, you're taking care of your job.
yeah,
Now you're doing this thing, this you become so interested in men's mental health, and you want to start having these conversations. Because who's taking care of Kyle?
yeah,
I'm going, well, I don't know, I don't have time. She goes, you have to make the time. I said, yeah, but I'm doing all these other things. Like, I think I'm doing good. Like, I think I'm doing all right.
yeah,
And you touched on something a while back, selfishness. there is a part of being selfish to take care of yourself.
Oh, heck yeah.
You
Oh,
have to take
God, yeah,
care of
you got to.
yourself. And these
Yeah.
conversations I'm having, like, I end up feeling lighter at the end of these conversations. I feel better. I feel like I've got a different purpose outside of, my family, which I love that purpose, my job,
Right.
I love that purpose. But like these conversations, man, like I find them invigorating, you know.
Yeah.
And
Indeed.
so what turned into just something that I wanted to kind of create awareness with has actually ended up helping me deeply, just to be able to have these conversations. So, thank you for everything, dude. Like, thank you for opening up, man. Like, um, I suspect the human that is Edwin Hodge, the flawed, beautiful, loving husband, man, brother to me. I know you golf. I know you took up martial arts. You stay busy. You're curious. Are there things in your life that you either do on a regular basis, or do you find that your hobbies give you an outlet um, to help with your own mental health? Like, are there practices that you have that kind of give you allow you to breathe or take a breath or work on yourself?
Um, yeah, I mean, I do a lot of spa visits now, sitting in
Nice. Hey, you got to take care of
hot
yourself. That's
hot
fair.
water,
Yeah, hot water.
yeah, sitting in hot water, that helps
Not
me
just with
out
your wife, not
tremendously.
just sitting in
Yeah.
hot water with the wife, but
Yeah.
hot water.
Yeah, no, I think it is a bit of what you just said, that I have, a lot of activities that keeps my mind, busy and engaged. I don't have I don't um in a sense create time to allow myself to, I guess sit in worries or doubts or anything like
Okay.
that.
Yep.
I know I have those moments when I'm there, and then I just create other things for me to do, but then it's like a placebo effect because,
Mhm.
as soon as I'm done, it's right back into, being depressed about whatever the hell is going on in my life.
Totally.
Uh, so for me, I love writing. I just got inspired, probably like a week and a half ago. So, I get up in the mornings, and first thing I do is I jump on my computer. That's part of me being able to kind of just center myself for the day. y- you know,
Hmm.
ready, even if I gotta, you know, go and film for 13 hours. Like, writing really helps me. I'm sitting here creating different characters and exploring, just different aspects of, these people's lives to create this full balanced story. And that's part of it. But I lean on my wife a lot. You know, she's um, she's just very intuitive and informative, and well lived as far as her experiences in life. And we both have different perspectives and outlooks on certain things, but I think they work. They're working together to keep us both sane. I know I drive her crazy most of the time, but
Hey,
um,
they drive us crazy too, man.
yeah, yeah,
I wouldn't
exactly.
be here without my wife either.
Yeah,
She's a
for
she's
sure.
she
For
can bear the load for me. Uh, they're important.
Um, but yeah, I've had a therapist. I've sat down with a therapist for about roughly like 3 years, almost three and a half.
Hmm.
Um, I know a lot of people like to more so do the holistic route and be able
Sure.
trees and nature.
Yeah.
That's more settling than talking it out. I think we all have our different ways of dealing and surviving. And not a lot of times is it about talking things out. It's more about sitting in silence and really taking a hard look at your life, reading literature that'll open up your mind to different, perspectives. Whether we're talking about, philosophy or dream books or, shit, financial guys, whatever it may be, you
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
just something that, will allow you to reach deeper within yourself. A lot of times we can talk to our friends and whatnot, but sometimes biased opinions kind of outweigh, what needs to be honest and true because they're trying to save your feelings.
Yeah.
Whereas if you do talk to a therapist, they have no biased opinions. They're more so a guide, and uh, but not a lot of people have money for a therapist. Not a lot of people have time for a therapist. So the
True.
closest is their loved ones. Um, but yeah, man, I just I stay busy. I got to a point in my life. I want to say maybe almost like 10, 11 years ago, where I was just like, F it, like just F it all. I can't give all of my energy to everyone and just feel completely dead at the end. Like
So true.
I just couldn't do it. And so that's, golfing is a big part of my therapy. That's, 4 to 5 hours that I'm out there, whether it's with my friends or by myself, where I can just I can be and I can exist. I can just focus on something that,
Yeah.
is just bigger than me at that moment. Something that is gonna test me no matter how
I,
I look.
can I ask you a question about that? Now we'll get into the golf thing. Don't get
Yeah,
me.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but like I struggle with that.
Yeah.
I struggle with like I go go go,
Mhm.
and I love that. Like I'm energized bunny. Katie laughs like you just work at a dude. You need to
Did
pump
you
the
see the
brakes.
post that Sky sent the other day? Dog
Yeah,
jumping over
exactly.
the sleeping dog. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're staying. We're
you
staying.
know. Um, but one thing that I'm still not good at that I need to work on, and we can talk further about this like in person,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
was like, how did you learn to set that? Was it like a boundary, would you say, that you set for yourself? You said 10 or 11 years ago, you stopped giving your energy so freely to the world around you.
Yeah,
And I feel like, COVID was great for me because I realized I was more of an introvert than I used to be, than I ever was before. And that
yeah.
also happened when I stopped drinking. When I stopped drinking, it was like, oh, I'm not really as much of a social butterfly as much
Right,
as
you
I'm
thought
like
you were.
I'm as much as like
You're a
I'm just
homebody, bro.
facing scenarios in which I can have a drink. You know what I mean? Like you going out to have some fun. I'm like, well, I'm gonna have a drink, so probably.
Yeah, yeah, probably.
Um, but my life got simplified after that. I was like, oh, I really just love a smaller group of people a
Yeah,
lot,
yeah,
and I'm not out blowing tons of money and um, creating these kind of false relationships with people, and
oh yeah,
so that helped a lot. But like I do find that like I do think it's hard to stop. So I need to. I'm still working on figuring that out because if I sit still, I feel like I'm gonna go crazy sometimes.
yeah. I don't know. I learned to get comfortable in the silence in a sense, right? I
Mhm.
got comfortable with being still. Um, you know, I live in a city where the energy is on 100 like every day.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, with work, we're spending God knows how many hours with, hundreds of people filming. It's like my daily life. I give a lot of energy to people, so
Sure.
when it comes to like my weekends and whatnot, I don't
Mhm.
want to see nobody. I just want to, chill with my lady. We can be on the couch. We can walk around the city. And even sometimes when walking around the city, it's just us because I'm not really focused on anybody else's energy. Um, we need to allow ourselves time to breathe.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm a workhorse too. In the sense that like yeah, I'm always thinking about what's the next job, and that comes with oh, I got to make sure the bills are paid, and I got to make sure I'm setting up things financially right. Like there's not a lot of other things that now are on my plate. Being married, that it's
Yeah.
like okay, all right, cool. Here's the next evolution.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is overwhelming, and yeah, feel like I'm either messed up or, I'm just not in tune. But, a lot of it's a learning process as well, just like anything else in life,
Life is one big learning process,
it
isn't
is, and if you
it?
don't, if you go through life thinking you know everything, you're not living.
Right.
Like you're
I
just not living if you think you know everything. You're not experiencing life. You're not surprised by life. You're not. You're just not enjoying life. There's nothing adventurous when you think you know everything, and we've
true.
met those people, and
Yeah.
they're not our friends. It's
No
uh,
kidding, man. I got a
it,
lot to learn. I got a lot of life to learn.
no, we got to. I mean, you being a new dad, that's, a whole nother chapter of learning. And that's like every other day for you now.
Every, every other hour.
There's something every other
Um,
day for you now. It ain't,
yeah.
it's not just you walking the earth, Um, so even with that, you begin to move differently.
Mhm.
You begin to think differently. You begin to react differently. Your patience may be a little bit, better now because this
Sure.
is something that's teaching you that, But yeah, man, when it comes to mental health, I think a lot of what we tend to deal with is, or it can be, I'll say that it can become self-inflicted because we get
Okay.
stuck in being and feeling that way, and now we're somehow comfortable in whatever that mode or mood or environment is. And there's some people, they just won't allow for change or allow for happiness or allow for progression because they're happy being there. They won't put the bottle down. I will say for everybody, Kyle and I fucking we cried on the golf course in the golf cart the day he told me he quit drinking.
Yeah.
I want to cry right now. No, it was a great day. It was
Great.
it showed me that one, in general, people can change if they are willing to make that change and want to make that change, they're willing to change. But also, for you, it's just like I think my buddy just saved his life. You know,
Yeah.
I've been screaming at you for God knows how long. Hey,
Yeah.
man, and mind you, listen, I was right there with you, having the all night benders, man.
Sure.
I was
Sure.
right there. I was your buddy, and even I myself got to a point where I was like, I can't do this,
Right.
but he can't do this. I won't allow him to do this.
Right.
This ain't. This is not. I understand what he's going through, but this ain't the answer.
Right. Yeah. I just hadn't figured it
You had
out.
to figure it out. And it's the same thing with me when I was in my situation. You're like, Eddie, you got to get the fuck out. Like, hey man, this
Sure.
ain't right for you, man.
Yes,
Like,
sir.
I don't like seeing you depressed. Like,
Yeah.
people, it was to the point where people hadn't seen me smile.
Yeah.
They kept saying they hadn't seen me smile,
Yep.
but this wasn't like over weeks time, over a month's time. This was like a year's time,
Hmm.
if not a little bit more. People were
Yeah.
like, I just don't see you smile anymore.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand what it was or what about my life was put me into that place. But man, when it hit, it was whew,
Yeah.
a huge breath of fresh air. And I had to just relinquish everything that was weighing me down. And that's when that's like I said, that's when I said I can't keep giving my energy to something that it's not going to benefit me in the end.
Yeah. I mean, it's pointless, isn't it? I mean, like you, it's so easy sometimes to get used to living in like a negative state.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Living in silence, I think, also is like is the mirror image of that, because like when you're living in silence, you're not talking about um it's easier to pretend it's not happening to you a
Yeah.
lot of the time.
Exactly.
Like I was a good time Charlie when I was drinking, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But how long did it take when you to when you got to know me? When I thought I was just having fun, having a good time. How long did it take for you to really realize that there was something else going on?
Oh, I probably knew like the third time we went out, to be honest with you.
Probably, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because there was like, yeah, there was drinking to have fun, but it almost seemed like this compulsive thing, like you were just doing
Didn't want
it
to
to,
stop.
yeah, you just didn't want to stop. And I remember being, I remember when we were in Wilmington and we were hanging out and we were about to call it a night and you were like, no, Eddie, let's go, and I'm like, dude, it's like it's 4 o'clock in the morning, bro. There is
Yeah.
no like, let's just go home.
Mhm.
But there was something in you that just, and you wanted to go get another drink, and I was just like, all right, cool. And that's when I was just like, all right, I'm gonna have to figure out how to live with
Navigate.
it.
Yeah.
Because prior to you, I'd broken up with someone because she was an alcoholic.
Right.
Like I wasn't gonna deal with alcoholics in my life because I just didn't, like, for me it was like you're too uncontrollable. Like
Mhm.
I don't know what's gonna happen. And so, I'd gone through two different situations with this woman where, alcohol took over, and same thing. I'm telling her midway through the night, hey, like, you want to cut back, let's stop, no, just want to keep going, keep going, keep going. Um, and so I skated. It wasn't beneficial for me. But with you, because of the bond that we had built, going through the program, the Navy SEAL program that we went through, and just, really kind of getting to know you, a lot of you, just in a short amount of time. um, I knew that wasn't the answer for you. Like I just, and it didn't feel right. Like it got to a point where it didn't feel right being around you, being out, because I didn't want you to drink.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I knew you could be the fun person without the drink, but you didn't know you could be the fun person without the drink.
I did not. I didn't know that life, like, for me, it was an escape.
Yeah,
Like, I didn't really like the way I felt,
as we all have them. Yeah.
like, during the day, like when I wasn't working, like when I didn't have, like, I wasn't good alone with my thoughts. I wasn't good with the pressures and
It is, man.
kind of the things that would go through my head on a daily basis.
Yeah.
You know, I read Matthew Perry's book, and I think, I read his book, after I'd stopped drinking. But I read his book, and he just said, like, when he was drinking, he felt the way that he assumed everybody else felt when they were just living their normal lives.
Yeah.
And that rang true to me, because, like, when I had a few cocktails, I didn't feel anxious. I didn't feel nervous. I didn't feel scared.
Mhm.
I didn't feel self-conscious. I didn't feel like I was um, on the defense.
Yeah.
And because I was, fairly successful in an industry that is difficult to be in, like, I learned how to put a mask on so well. And it wasn't until I could have, Friday with it, because I wasn't a daily drinker, but I was a binge drinker, because as soon as I had a few, I felt good. I
Yeah.
felt like I could breathe. I felt like, oh man, I don't feel like there's somebody lurking around the corner about to
Mhm.
pop out and tell me my world's gonna shatter.
Yeah.
And so, like, I didn't want the night to end. I didn't want to sober up and going back to that feeling.
Of
You know,
course. Of
so
course.
I had to learn to be a human. I had to learn. I had to unlearn everything I'd learned for 20 years, because I think I started drinking at 15. And learn to be social, and learn to trust friends and people, and trust that I was good enough the way I was.
Yeah.
And I narrowed down my friend group. I wrote, you know, I did a lot in my life to try and I mean, and it worked. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not in the program. I know it works for a lot of people. Um, but I got to a point where I was just like, I'd stopped drinking. I had met my wife. I had heard you, a friend of years, turn to me and tell me how proud you were of me. And I just went like, I'm just never gonna drink again.
Yeah.
I gained way too much. It took a lot of work, but I
Yeah.
gained way too much to even like I don't my mom passed in November.
Yeah. That could have been an easy excuse.
I it crossed my mind when
Yeah.
my dad was like, "You want to have a beer?" And I went, "No, no, I don't.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I'm not going to throw 3.5 years away just because. In fact, I'm going to take this moment as an opportunity to reinforce
Yeah.
the fact that I can do this by myself.
Mhm.
I can be braver. I can be more courageous. I can be stronger than the weakest link in me."
Yeah.
Um, and I did. And you know what? I tell you now, you know, I love you and thank you for being there for me because you were a big part of that.
Yeah, man. Likewise. Likewise. Like I honestly, it's I myself, wrap this up in a minute here. I lean, but no, we have another meeting.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe
yeah, yeah.
not trying to buy a house. You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
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 solution, more
hey.
stress, more stress. Okay, I know I'm
Oh, we
playing.
can talk about it, bro.
Yeah,
I
no,
got
no.
you.
But yeah, man, it's amazing when we can have a community to lean on. Once again, a lot of us aren't really, you know, fortunate to have a good group of friends. Like we can have our friends, but not all of them are good. Uh, um, but I've been blessed, man. I've gone through my bouts with drinking. Um, I got to a point where I thought I was smoking too much, and I quit smoking for a while. The other stuff, not cigarettes. Um,
The
uh,
greens.
the green stuff. And kind of like you, there was a breaking point where I was just like, I can't do this to myself anymore. I actually started playing golf to stop drinking. I knew that,
Hmm.
you know, 5 hours, 6 hours, I was gonna have a drink in my hand. Sometimes I'd go to the driving range for 8 hours. I'd just be out there just swinging putting because
Hmm.
I knew I wasn't drinking.
Right.
Y- you know, uh, so you know we create these habits, and sometimes we're blessed to have them fall upon us, through various situations in life that you know help us to make a decision, yeah, an actual choice that will ultimately end up benefiting us, because at the end of the day, we can't be there for everybody if we're not there for ourselves. Like it's really that simple. If we can't, you know, take moments in time to just breathe and assess situations and um, really value um our own, mental health and physical health and well-being, um, we're no good to anybody else around us at all, at all. And I've seen that with a lot of my male friends, that I've been so blessed to have over like my wedding. When I looked at all the men that were there, I know every one of our journeys together, like every last one of them. Even a good friend of mine had a breakdown during our bachelor weekend, and I didn't get upset. It wasn't about me. You know what I'm saying? This was somebody who needed help, and it would have been selfish of me, even though it was my bachelor weekend, it would have been selfish of me to be like, "Yo, screw off! Like this
Yeah.
is." But that's y'all are the community, y'all are my family.
Yeah.
We keep each other uplifted.
Mm-hmm.
And even in times of celebration, somebody's going through something, and
Somebody's always going through
yeah,
something.
yeah,
Always.
they always.
Yeah.
You got a room full of 100 people at a party. 75% of them going through something.
No doubt. No
but they,
doubt.
but they out there dancing and they're enjoying their lives, and they're leaning, on their friends to keep them, in a position where mentally they feel like they can, keep going. Um, so yeah, I appreciate you. I appreciate the many, many men in my life. I appreciate the women in my life who have also taught me lessons,
100%. Yeah.
uh, yeah, man. I'm always gonna be here, man.
And that's why I love you. I would love you. I'm just gonna love you forever. How's
Indeed, man.
that?
Right back.
All
Right.
right. Edwin Hodge, FBI's Most Wanted, Ray Cannon, right?
Ray Cannon.
The guy. You guys premiered what, a month ago?
Yeah, we premiered about a month ago. Our 4th episode aired this past Tuesday. So
All
uh,
right. So
you
Tuesday
know,
nights at
Tuesday nights at 10 o'clock. So
on
you got
CBS.
Kyle on Monday, you got me on Tuesday, then you got my wife, Sky Marshall, on Thursday, Matlock. Go watch it. Just
Matlock. We got CBS live. All right. I love you,
yeah.
brother. I'll talk to you
Love you
later.
too, man.
All
All
right.
right, talk to you.
Bye.